We are staying on development of a new report which has warned that the world laden with COVID-19 scars is ill-prepared to take on growing existential threats. Now, the report also reviews that economic recovery from the coronavirus, much of which has relied on the rollout of vaccinations, has deepened divisions among nations and in the international community at large. And to help us make more sense of this situation, we have chartered accountant and financial advisor Tenny, who joins me, or Tola rather, Ayeni, who joins me live from the UK. Good to have you join us.
Thank you.
So a good part of this report didn't state anything new in terms of the divisions we've seen or the unequal world we have seen because of the pandemic. There has been a huge division between the advanced nations and the developing nations. But there also seemed to be that palpable fear of, oh, we're not going to recover together. Talk to us about how uneven this rebound, economic rebound, will be in the coming years.
Well, of course, it's going to be different for each country, but we can safely say that as far as the pandemic is concerned and the coronavirus is concerned, all the countries have been involved, have been affected one way or the other. So it's affected specific sectors more than other sectors. So for instance, aviation sector, hospitality sector, they have been hard hit by the effects of the pandemic more than maybe retail outlets or, that type of thing. So in the same way, when it comes to countries, the countries that have adequate response to the issues or have tried to maintain some kind of support for small businesses, they would perhaps recover quicker than the ones that haven't had adequate support in place.
And I was going to just talk to you about that, because one of the things we've seen in this pandemic is the value and supply chain disruptions. We've also seen that the wealth gap has deepened. There is so much gap now. I don't even think that in most countries we have the middle class anymore. We've also seen the soaring prices in energy and food prices as well. But is this going to be worse for countries where that have a manufacturing problem, where that import and export dependent, especially in lower scale, like you just mentioned, the small and medium scale enterprises?
Yeah, I think the effects on logistics have been great, in the sense that when you're relying on export and import, and aviation has more or less crumbled, that then has a knock-on effect on the manufacturing, on the value chain system. So that definitely cannot be overlooked. And I think what economists across the world should be looking at is, how do we put in place alternative measures? How do we encourage small businesses to still continue? How do we remove the obstacles that are facing businesses on a daily basis? I mean, we know that there were obstacles even before the pandemic hit. So now it's just been aggravated because of the situation of the pandemic. So how do we go about removing those obstacles for small businesses? What's transportation like? What is the alternative? If it cannot be done by air, perhaps can we ship things, across the ocean? What is the alternative? It's important that we look at things strategically and then come up with solutions that can help in terms of rebuilding the economies of the world.
And it's not just the World Economic Forum report that is stating this. I also went through the World Bank biannual global economic prospect report, also stating that in 2023, this year and 2023, we're likely to see a slowdown on economic activities. But a lot of countries, we notice, are focusing on economic reboot. But what experts say that what we need is resilience and sustainability. So what sort of programs can we begin to focus on, especially in a place like Africa? What sort of programs can we begin to focus on that will build that resilience that we need to overcome the impact of the pandemic?
There may be a slowdown in some sectors, as we've discussed already, but I would like to say that other areas are actually booming as well. So take, for instance, there's a lot happening in the digital space. There is a lot in terms of digital transformation. There is a lot in terms of programming and stuff like that. So the IT space is a space where we perhaps need to put in resources and encourage young people to take an interest in those areas. That would give them an opportunity to work even remotely. There's a lot of hybrid working, remote working and stuff like that. So we don't have to rely on the traditional sectors that we've been used to, and therefore say that there's going to be a slowdown. A lot of things are happening even as we speak. And I saw a meme recently, I don't know how true it is, that Rolls-Royce claims to have sold more cars in 2021 than maybe in all the previous years. If that is a fact, then it shows that people are thinking outside of the box, and that's what we need to do. And in Africa especially, we do have resources within our geographical area, within our scope, that we can look to instead of relying on just imports, exports, and those areas of the economy that may have been hit by the pandemic. We need to think outside of the box. We need to create new opportunities, both within and outside, and look at transforming our businesses in terms of how can we digitize, how can we create hybrid working environment for people to be able to continue doing what they're doing, earning an income and generating income. Absolutely. Even for the economy to grow. Those are the things that we need to be looking at right now.
Absolutely. And I hope we see that collaboration among African countries in terms of growing the economy. Thank you so much for helping us make sense of this. Chartered accountant and financial advisor, Tenny, I keep saying Tenny, Tola Ayeni.
Thank you.